Welcome, everybody, to the Murder Theater podcast. Just want to make a couple of notes. We haven't been here for quite some time. We've been kind of reformatting. You know how things go. Sometimes family life takes a hold of you and sweeps you under the tide. But we are back.
And the world has gone crazy.
And the world has gone crazy. But we are back, and we are changing our format. We're not going to be focusing solely on All Elite Wrestling. We're going to bring in some other promotions into our discussions. It's mostly going to be about news. It's going to be about something that we're following, whether it be a particular wrestler, a faction, or even if we just catch a match that we think is totally cool, we're going to talk about that. It's going to be definitely free for all. We're going to be starting to give away some giveaways to everyone. So I hope you're all excited about that. Tammy will definitely tell you a little bit more about that giveaway because she likes to give things away, especially my money. But, you know, that's how it goes.
Give it away, give it away, give it away now.
So, you know, but we will address those issues when we get there. But our main topic tonight is going to be the Ring of Honor. But before we get into Ring of Honor, we definitely want to talk about some news, some rumors, some things that we've heard around the bend. I know Chris has been chomping at the bit, wants to talk about a couple of things. I'm gonna let Chris take it away. What do you got on your mind, my friend?
It is a crazy week in professional wrestling, you guys. It's actually been a crazy couple of months, but as the weeks have progressed, my God, have things exploded in the world of professional wrestling and sports entertainment. I don't know how much you guys have been following up on this stuff. I think we should, very first thing we should do is address what's happening with the Federation, World Wrestling Entertainment, or whatever the fuck those initials actually stood for.
Exactly.
Ding dong, the witch is dead.
Yes.
The empire is crumbling.
It's like Game of Thrones.
So here's the thing, man. Vince McMahon is officially retired from the wrestling business, despite the fact that he supposedly never worked in the wrestling business, which is obviously a crock of shit.
Right.
You don't have a bunch of wrestlers working for you and put on wrestling matches if you're not in the wrestling business. But
that's true.
Word on the street and popular opinion says this is probably the best thing that's happened in the business since the start of AEW. The only thing that I can say for sure that is going to change moving forward for that company is the perception of that company. From a talent's perspective and from a consumer's perspective. There's a lot of stuff that's going to get buried because he's leaving.
Okay.
There's a lot of Wall Street Journal articles and things that are happening. There's a lot of law firms involved. There's a bunch of stuff. I have a feeling most of it's going to go under the radar because he's gone. The one thing I think this is going to do is make the business better.
Okay.
It's time for some of the old heads to go away.
All right.
Vince is probably the biggest old head in the business. Now, to be fair to Vince and to give credit where credit's due, we wouldn't have all this wrestling stuff today if it wasn't for him and his vision back in the 80s. However, when you give credit to somebody, you also have to acknowledge their flaws. He's got plenty of them. The company has had plenty of them. They've done some shady business practices for years, for decades. A lot of that is going to have to go away if they want to stay in business at this point because of all of the lights that are being shown on them now. How much of it will still be going on behind the scenes is obviously yet to be determined. Triple H, a huge name in the business, is taking over as the head of creative over there. I think this is something that the fans have been screaming for a decade now. There's a bright future if they can absorb all of this and move forward. And if not, then it's going to continue to be what it is. Vince McMahon is still the primary shareholder. He is still basically the guy who's going to have buttons pushed behind the scenes.
Of course he is.
But there's enough people now in charge that can change things. They can fix the way that they deal with talent. They can fix the way that they run their business and their organization. Hopefully, good things are on the horizon for that company. And if so, obviously, I'm a long time I would say fan of the product, not necessarily a fan of the organization. It seems like their product has always aligned with my interests, and their business dealings have always aligned with what I think is horrible business. So, I mean, that's just it is what it is.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed, maybe this is the turning point and something that is going to make the business better for everybody all around, competition included. Tammy, you have something to say?
I just have some reflections on what you're saying. It's just making me think, like, wouldn't it be cool to see? Do you remember that show Empire? But it had to stop because that guy paid people to jump him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wouldn't a wrestling?
Smollett.
Yes. Wouldn't wrestling be like a great kind of like show like that? With like
Yes.
Vince McMahon being like a character in it. Like, I think it needs to be made. At the very least, it's an amazing episode of Dark Side of the Ring, you know? So, and that's saying it from somebody that doesn't have a history in wrestling. So you always hear all this stuff about WWE and all this history with him. And the only thing I really ever paid attention to him about is when I started watching wrestling through AEW and everybody making these comparisons. And it always sounded like he was like this villainous type character. And then this happens and it just feels like on brand for that. But it's just really also interesting. And I just feel like I've entered in the past year into this fandom of wrestling at a really weird time because, you know, there's so many people that have so many attachments to all these people that are coming and going in these different companies. And I just started with one and I don't even have that history. So I see things so differently with a lot more of a neutral kind of thing. But always we like to see misogyny called out and dealt with, although I'm not sure that it really is, if he hasn't really lost much, but it is an interesting story. And I have read articles about Triple H being somebody that works with people really well and has a lot of partnerships with people that are AEW. So that made me think, what's going to happen to me? I'm watching all this wrestling. Now it's going to get even better. I have to get other things done in life.
Yeah, we do.
and this also, guys, further proves that Cody Rhodes' ultimate goal was to destroy WWE from within. I'm just saying, he's there, and within months, Vince is gone. This was something that would never have happened. Thank you, Cody Rhodes. Whatever you did, we appreciate you.
All right, I think I like him now.
That's a great episode of the show. That will be the episode where Brandy was like making friends with the ladies and getting them to talk so they can like topple over the misogynist. That's a great episode.
You know, in all seriousness, whatever allegations and stuff are against Vince McMahon, he is one of the only people to ever put his real personality into his character personality and get away with it for multiple decades. And the stuff that's coming to light now it's pretty horrendous. I mean, honestly, if you look at a lot of it, but it's a man making a man's decisions about his own life. None of it really had anything to do with the company other than abuse of power in a lot of respects. The company itself and the performers that are there, I don't hold any of his actions against the product itself, other than, a lot of shitty creative decisions and stuff like that. There's a lot of performers in that company that deserve better. And there's going to be a lot of performers now that are going to look to WWE and say, maybe now it's okay to go back there. Maybe now it's okay to want to go there. So hopefully this is good things for everybody all around. Unless you guys have anything else to say about Vince, I think we can move on from that.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to say about Vince, but yeah, all I know is that he's dogged out a lot of people and mistreated some really high quality talent. So hopefully, now that this shift has changed and you got Triple H in there, you're going to see maybe some people that haven't had a good chance but are still great wrestlers get on TV, or like even Tammy said, maybe there might be some crossover into AEW or even other like Impact or even New Japan. You know what I mean?
For the first time ever, it feels like that is a possibility.
And that would be cool. That'll definitely put my eyes on that product again and see what's going on. At least, watch a few here and there just to see what's happening.
I mean, I know you guys don't watch it, but there's some great performers in that company across all the brands. There's a lot of good stuff in there, but a lot of it has been misdirected. And I think with new direction, it could get back to being a Titan.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, they're still like, they're number one, man. I mean, they're
Well,
number
it's
one.
a
They got the money, they got the production,
exactly.
they've got it all. So it's like, it's gonna be good regardless.
And at the same time, somebody, Brian James, recently did an interview. I can't remember who it was with. He was talking to somebody on some podcast, and he said AEW looks like an indie show filmed with really good cameras. And you know what? That's because that's what the audience wants now. The audience wants that indie vibe. They want that younger vibe. They want that high flying style, the strong style. They want all that stuff. And if somebody can now go to WWE and say, hey, we need to adapt to this instead of trying to fight it, maybe there's a hope that the product can improve tenfold. You know what I mean? So that it's not a bunch of performers that feel trapped in this one certain thing they have to do, where everything is scripted, everything is overproduced. It'll be nice to see some changes across the business as a whole, with the leader, as it were, changing the example, really.
Mhm. Yeah. Tammy, you were going to say something?
I don't remember what.
Okay.
Oh, I know. It was just a stupid thing you'd see on an office poster, but it's true here. It's competition's good for everybody.
Yeah, it is. It always is. And yeah, I think it's going to be cool. I mean, I'll check it out. I mean, I'll go watch some matches, it'll be
Dude,
fun.
there's a lot of good stuff over there. I obviously always keep my eyes on it. So if there's stuff happening in the next, upcoming stuff, I will let you guys know if there's stuff to keep your eye out for, because there is a ton of good stuff over there. It's a shame that things have been the way they have. Moving forward, though, I'm hoping for some improvement. Let's talk about some other stuff here real quick. Have you guys, I don't know if you've been following the New Japan G1 Climax that's going on right now?
No, but that name is quite interesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
A little suggestive, don't you think?
I mean, I've been
Always
They better
dabbling
be
in it a
some
little bit.
sexy wrestlers happening over there.
Oh no.
So we are in the midst of the G1 Climax, which usually runs anywhere from a couple of weeks to like a month long, depending on what it is. There's tons of matches involved. It's kind of complicated and hard to explain how it all works, along with everything else New Japan.
Right.
But if you get a chance, I highly recommend going and watching some of these matches. There's a lot of great stuff going on with Bullet Club right now. You know what? You can catch a lot of it on YouTube on the New Japan channels. There's several New Japan official YouTube channels. Some are American, some are Japanese with subtitles. It all kind of depends on what you look at.
Okay.
And there's New Japan stuff happening in America too that's not related to the stuff happening in Japan. And then there's like cross-pollination and all that. But I wanted to throw that out there because I think you guys would enjoy some of it. You won't enjoy all of it because some of it's just weird New Japan stuff.
Ooh, I like weird.
Yeah. There's a couple of pay-per-views coming up for other companies. Impact Emergence is coming August 12th. GCW Homecoming is coming August 18th, and the one and only Mr. John Moxley is going to be a part of GCW Homecoming. So keep your eyes open.
What date?
Because I have a feeling the GCW Homecoming is 8/18. There's also they're doing something in September, I believe. I didn't write it down. I wish I had. It's there's going to be a lot of AEW talent over there as well, along with a bunch of other talent from various promotions, Impact and all that stuff too.
Cool.
But there's a ton of good pay-per-views coming up. It all kind of stems from I think the business is just on fire right now. There's so many good shows, so many promotions are getting more and more interest in developing and kind of branching out and putting more money into their products. So I think this is a great time to be a wrestling fan. Things are getting better. And I think all of this new development and everything is going to be, it's going to keep going for quite a while. I don't think we've reached the plateau.
Yeah, and it's cool that we're moving this format along to include a lot of other promotions. So I'm excited about it, and I like it when
get a van.
What's that?
And drive around and have a wrestling van where we just travel around and watch it all the time. Go
Exactly.
ahead.
And then there's going to be pretty soon coming up, and I have to get the dates, and I'll put like a link in the bio. But Enjoy Wrestling is going to start its new season coming up, and they go through a whole series. They did their big match, but they haven't put any of it on YouTube. But that's something you can go on YouTube and check out. Enjoy Wrestling. You'll see a lot of AEW crossover in there. You'll see some Impact crossover in there, but it's like a crazy free for all type of wrestling. A lot of the times it's mostly intergender, which is super fun because you'll have, like 3 guys and 3 girls against 3 guys and 3 girls and vice versa, and just everything in between. And it's one of those super high flying, taking risks, taking chances. If you get a chance to check out Enjoy Wrestling, it's really a lot of fun. Go ahead, Tammy.
I want to add to that. What another thing I love about them is somehow I had heard about them, and I think what got me to watch, and they do a lot of times Thursdays, that they didn't do their last championship online. You had to buy tickets for that, but the rest of their stuff is on there. Is that there was somebody talking, and they talked about they used unlicensed music of some sort for their intro. And they didn't care. It was so epic and so fun that they were like, we'll take the fine. I was like, I fucking love these people already. I'm going to watch them. They don't care. They are all about entertainment, and they will pay the fine. So I was so about them. So I went to watch them, and then I absolutely thought they just have a lot of fun there. It's just good old fashioned. Everybody's a great wrestler, but they're definitely having a good time there, and it's very relaxed.
It's so punk rock that it's awesome. It really is.
Good thing it wasn't Metallica.
Right? It's so punk rock. It's great, man. It's such a DIY approach to everything. And you'll definitely be entertained. And it's nonstop action. I mean, it just keeps rolling and rolling and rolling. And the matches are fun to watch. Enjoy Wrestling. It's every Wednesday. I think it's going to start in August, a new season that they're going to do. There's a whole bunch of back season. You can see Lee Moriarty wrestle in there. You can see Effie wrestle in there. You can see Evil Uno wrestle in there. Mikey Bailey's in there.
Max the
Impaler. Everybody, a lot of people that you've seen on maybe AEW Dark or Dark Elevation. They're kind of like a main issue in there. JD Drake had a big match against MV Young, which was a really, really fun match to watch, but definitely check out some Enjoy Wrestling. You're not going to regret it, especially if you're into the whole indie wrestling scene. I mean, it's really fun.
Yeah, I checked out a few of their matches, and I'm pretty impressed with their content so far. I look forward to seeing what they're doing in the future. I think they've got a lot of potential over there.
For sure. All right. So, Tammy, you want to tell us about the giveaway?
Oh, yes. Okay. So we've been away too long, and we're back, and we're refreshed, and we're going to do some fresh stuff, but we want to hear about what fresh stuff you want to hear and see. So we have a contest and a giveaway, and the rules are you must comment on our page, tweet a request that you'd like to see or hear on our podcast, and retweet us. So when you do those 2 things, your name goes into a drawing. And on August 1st, we're going to draw for a $20 Pro Wrestling Tees gift card and a cool shot glass from WrestlingOverEverything.com. We met them at a wrestling con, River City Con. I thought they were really cool and friendly and loved their whole concept. So we want to share that with you. So yes, that's what we're doing. So comment and retweet.
Yep. And get us up on Twitter. We'll put the Twitter link in there. It's always on our YouTube page as well. And then we'll put it out there. So yeah, tell us what you want to hear and what you want us to talk about, and give us some suggestions, and you could win a $20 gift card for Pro Wrestling Tees and a nice shot glass to drink some lemonade out of. So we don't like to promote those things. All right. So yeah. So we're glad we're getting into that. So now our main topic tonight is going to be Death Before Dishonor, the Ring of Honor pay-per-view. We're going to kind of give you our thoughts on that a little bit, kind of to give you see how things are going. But before we get into that, I want to talk about a little bit of breaking news. A couple things I wanted to talk. One thing I want to talk about that relates to Ring of Honor. And now that I look back on it, I noticed it. And I kind of had a feeling something was wrong. Jonathan Gresham is demanding that he gets out of his AEW ROH contract.
You're starting with that? We
I
haven't
am
even
starting
talked
with
about the
If
matches.
if I understand correctly, it's actually 2 separate contracts, and he wants released from both.
Both. He's upset. Apparently, some other AEW or ROH stars in the back heard him cussing and yelling, supposedly, from what I've read. I don't know if that's true, that the argument got heated. He had lack of communication on who was really going to win that match. I mean, but we all knew it was obvious. I mean, that was apparent. And when he came out, that first couple, maybe 5-6 minutes of that match was like, it was awkward to me when I watched it. It was like, he looked like he had a look on his face like he didn't want to be there. So
Here's the thing with Gresham. We're talking about a very talented guy.
super.
Been around for quite a while, put on some stellar matches. Maybe not the most over guy on the planet. Despite his talent, there is a lack of, I don't want to say fan support. There is something to be said, though, about the fact that he doesn't have as large of a following as a, I don't know, name any big name in the business. He's not at that level for whatever reason. That could be debated until everybody's out of breath. But it has nothing to do with his in-ring performance. I think it has a lot to do with his stature, his size, and perhaps part of his style. I personally think Jonathan Gresham is one of the greatest people doing it today, but there's a lot of people that I would list over him right now. So I get his frustrations. We're talking about somebody who was there for Ring of Honor when they needed somebody most. I get that, but the game has changed.
Yeah.
I hope he gets what he wants, and I hope that there's a positive outcome from all of this, because he does deserve credit for being who he is and for being the performer he is. Obviously, we don't know what was said. It sounds like it was a heated discussion.
Gossip.
Right.
Whatever that is, the main issue that I'm taking away from it is there have been a lot of people coming forward talking about the lack of communication from Tony and from everybody that's involved with the process of creative for AEW and now for Ring of Honor, that are frustrated. They feel like they're not getting their point across. They feel like there's a lack of communication, trust, and for lack of a better word, coordination. I don't know what the issue is. I hope it's not as big as it sounds.
Right. It does sound big. And the other thing that makes me, think is the fact that Tully Blanchard just bailed out completely too. So
that's a whole different thing, I think.
But it's weird that it all happened that night. I mean, that was strange to me. All of a sudden, there's a whole changing of the guard and the whole 9 yards. I mean, I was expecting to see Brian Cage the other night. We didn't see any of that. So, it's hard to say.
I mean, we had Brian Cage on the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
But it wasn't what I thought it was going to be.
Right. Exactly. So I don't know.
Brian Cage is one of the people that has said, I'm just going to sit around and wait because I don't know what the hell's going on.
Right. He has expressed himself that way
several times.
Yeah. Got anything to weigh in on that, Tammy?
Nope.
Okay.
Before we move on from it, I will say this. It sounds like a lot of people are reporting it as Tony Khan is not communicating. Tony Khan is a very busy guy. He's running 2 football teams and now 2 wrestling promotions. I can't imagine he's got a lot of time to spare for every single idea that everybody has. if that is the issue, they need to get a system in place where there's more of a organized way to deal with how these things are put through to Tony if he's going to make all these calls. It may be time to consider putting in like a creative team.
Right.
When the businesses get big, you need more people to handle the load. So hopefully they get this sorted out. I don't want to see anybody upset or leaving or any of that stuff, because it's just, it sucks when you see great talents disappearing.
Yep, for sure. So let's talk about Ring of Honor. So Tammy, what did you think of Ring of Honor, the presentation as a whole?
I thought it didn't have enough pizzazz,
Okay.
to be honest. I
And
feel like it didn't feel special. It felt like a equivalent of a Dynamite level. I didn't feel like, oh my goodness, this is so exciting. When they do pay-per-views with AEW, there's so many pyrotechnics and music happening and fanfare to make it exciting because you paid money to see it. You know what I mean? And they weren't very extra with any of that. So other than that, I thought pretty much all the matches were really strong. And I feel like they all were putting in 1000% effort into the matches. So I thought the matches were good and solid, but I thought the overall presentation didn't feel special.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of in between. There wasn't a lot of like faction fighting and promo and talking smack and stuff like that. So yeah, I kind of see what you mean. Chris, what did you think of the presentation of overall?
Okay, so if you're not a longtime Ring of Honor viewer, the presentation that was put forth may seem lackluster. It may seem like it was missing a lot of the elements. And if you're expecting it to look like AEW, you're not going to get that from a Ring of Honor show, particularly a pay-per-view. Ring of Honor has always been more of what was described about AEW. It's at its heart, it's an indie show with nice production, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think the color scheme is excellent. I love the red and black, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I think the lighting was better than a lot of Ring of Honor stuff in the past. I think the audio quality was maybe not as good as it could have been. Partially, I think the crowd was a little bit dead during this show. And it didn't really get exciting until the FTR Briscoes match. The crowd kind of came alive for that one.
They did.
Willow got a lot of love too. But I was actually shocked at how much silence there was during the Jonathan Gresham Claudio match. That was kind of weird.
It started out real quiet. It started out quiet.
And if you guys think this was quiet, maybe don't watch New Japan, because they don't even clap over there. I'm dead serious.
Yeah,
like it's a whole different vibe. But for a Ring of Honor show, I think this was a nice kind of stepping stone. I think it would have been wasteful to put a lot into this just because it was Ring of Honor's first pay-per-view, really without having any of the old guard still involved. This was the first Tony Khan produced Ring of Honor show, shall we say. I think the lighting was good. For some reason, I've always liked the idea of not like super lightening the crowd up and having like everybody's faces visible. It has a very kind of like focused vibe on what's happening in the ring versus watching everyone's reactions. Some shows aren't that way. We talked about WWE earlier. They are famous for, showcasing the crowd and showcasing reaction. And in the last few years, piping in crowd noise and piping in things that aren't there. And in some cases, blurring out signs that people have to manipulate their audience to seem a way that they want it to seem. Ring of Honor doesn't do that. AEW, in most respects, doesn't do that. They tend to keep their crowds darker. And there is a little emphasis, especially when big things are happening. But for the most part, they tend to focus on what's happening in the ring and what's happening on the ramp. Now, the ramp for Ring of Honor, I thought was interesting. We had a large screen. We didn't really have any kind of big entrance area or any of that, which still felt to me true to Ring of Honor.
Okay.
As the promotion was for the last 20 years. However, when rebranding and reinventing and rejuvenating, maybe that's not the best call, especially when you're trying to get new interest. And when you have a lot of people that are coming to the product based on what they've seen from AEW, and they're like, oh, they're doing this Ring of Honor stuff. I never watched Ring of Honor, but I'm going to start watching it now. And then they go from AEW to that. It's not exactly even close to the same sort of thing.
Right.
So everybody in charge is going to have a long road to, like, there's a lot that's going to have to be decided about Ring of Honor, what that product is going to look like, how it should look moving forward versus how much fan service are you giving to the Ring of Honor diehards and the talent that have been around forever. I was impressed with a lot of the dynamic of the show as far as the camera work and the lighting. The audio was very disappointing, but I think as a first pay-per-view, it was pretty good. I mean, it was the equivalent of an Impact show for sure.
Yeah, it was fun. It was definitely
And
fun.
it wasn't quite the level of a pay-per-view you'd see from AEW or from any other larger company. And the reason for that is Ring of Honor still isn't there yet.
Right.
And it's going to take some time and it's going to take some money to get that product to be as big as those others.
Exactly. So that, that leads me to my next question. It's like, what would you like to see in the future? What are they going to, where should they put this? What should they do with Ring of Honor? I mean, is it going to make it onto TV? Is it going to make it onto a streaming service? Is it going to make it onto just the YouTube? I mean, what would you like to see, Tammy? What would you like to see Ring of Honor? What do you think would make it where more people would be into it? Should they put it on like a TNT or TBS, or should they try to promote it hard on like a subscription, or what do you think?
I don't know anything about TV marketing, so I don't really know. I mean, it seems like people already know about it and have liked it, so I don't know how much more they're trying to go with it. So where do you see it now?
I mean, what's your opinion? Where would you like to watch Ring of Honor? Like, what would be the most
The
convenient?
most convenient place.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's either YouTube or one of those channels that you already stream, I don't really know. I mean, I feel like YouTube, I think, is always convenient, but I don't know if that benefits them as far as, getting big time advertisers on a big channel. But I mean, I find YouTube very easy to watch and it's free. So of course, for me, that works for me. I don't know about them.
Well, YouTube, man.
Where do you see it now?
Where do I see? Well, you can't. It's just these special
tough
one-offs.
to find Ring of Honor content right now, especially with the trade-off of ownership and all of that.
Then they should just do YouTube. It's easy, and we watch Dark and Dark Elevation and enjoy wrestling there. So that would probably be a good start until they get enough cachet to be able to get onto a big channel.
But keep in mind, these days YouTube can make you as much money as national television can. It can.
But they can also control you.
Yeah.
And say like they can deactivate and demonetize you too. So I don't know.
True.
Again, I don't know anything about all that. So that's not the question I want to answer.
Okay.
So as far as like, I'm not a marketer. I don't know I don't know the stats on that. So for me personally, YouTube's easy. And that would work for me personally. As far as like, is this part of the future request question? Because I answered that from a completely different element than how to watch it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm asking that question too. What do you got? Do you got some completely different interpretation of that question?
Yeah. I want more women on there.
Of course, I do too.
And I want more women on commentator tables. And so they could do that. I think they should do that. And that's what I'd like to see. And I'd like to see, and I don't know if this goes into another question later, like suggestions. Is that a separate question?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's improvements.
I'll save my feedback for that one.
Why don't you just show the cards to everyone?
Who cares? Be real, man. What do they think? We pull this shit out of our ass? Sometimes we do, but not always. We do have a conversation about.
I have a format here and I have transitions, and you're just like,
you know what? We're not stuffy format people.
So as far as the Ring of Honor production format and how to get it to the people, right? You've got a couple of options. You mentioned the YouTube thing. YouTube could work. Impact has a subscription service where you can go and pay for the subscription service. You don't have to have the various streaming networks to watch the Impact stuff the way they do it now. What is it? Who do they use for streaming right now?
They do their own website, but then there's Access TV that you can actually see it on Thursday nights.
Impact goes through Access, which is either you can get it through cable or you can get it through a streaming service. Now there's that model, right? There's the YouTube model. And then there's what the WWE did for a decade or more. I think the WWE network as a concept was an amazing idea. I think that for Ring of Honor in particular, but even AEW, I think the idea of having a network specifically that is a streaming platform just dedicated to your wrestling content, especially when you talk about a company like Ring of Honor, who has a back catalog 20 years of material to put up. When you charge a monthly fee, you say, hey, you can get it on all these devices, smart TVs, whatever. Download the Ring of Honor app, right? The Ring of Honor network app. That's where you put your back catalog, your weekly shows. And then if you want, you give an incentive. You know, if you subscribe to this thing for a year, you get all our pay-per-views for free. Otherwise, you have to go through a pay-per-view service. I think that model of programming works really well. I'm still not sure why WWE decided to not do that. I think it was a matter of how much money they were investing into that versus how much money they could make from the Peacock deal that they made. And Peacock has probably made out pretty well from this as well, but I think WWE got the better end of that deal. I think that is a good business model, though, especially for a company like Ring of Honor that doesn't maybe necessarily have the pop culture draw of a WWE, the wide range that WWE already has. Everybody knows who they are. Not that many people know about Ring of Honor in the grand scheme of viewership. True. So I think a streaming network would be the probably the most profitable for them. I don't know that it's going to get them the most eyes. Cable TV is obviously going to get you the most eyeballs, which you then build your audience, and then you can do more things. YouTube is kind of the same thing. You're not going to get those eyes that you get from TV, nor will you get the revenue without that viewership. Right. So it's a tricky spot for Ring of Honor right now. It's something they've been in for their entire existence. So we'll see what Mr. Khan can do. I personally would like to see a streaming service. I don't think cable TV is the best way to go, but you know, that's just me.
All right.
I think that was genius. I think you should be hired for this stuff because I mean, honestly, like that makes so much sense. I'm ready to subscribe to it now.
All right.
I would totally pay $10 to $15 a month to have the Ring of Honor app on my stuff. I definitely would.
Nice.
Awesome.
So I
would much rather do that than pay $30 every couple of months for a pay-per-view.
That's true.
I am 100% on board. I want this to happen. Let's will it into existence, or as the crunchy people like to say, let's manifest it.
Yes. I'm going to put it on my storyboard. That's what I'm going to do. That's what's going to happen.
It's called an inspiration board.
My inspiration board, whatever that
vision
is.
board.
My vision board.
Vision board, you're right.
That's it. So my favorite non-AEW talent that was on Ring of Honor, and there's the reason is because it was pure entertainment and not necessarily because of skill.
What was it?
It's
my favorite non-AEW talent that was on Ring of Honor.
Okay.
So we should preface that, Rafe. And rather than talking about the same people we've talked about for months from AEW, let's showcase people from Ring of Honor only that are not contracted by AEW that maybe we haven't seen a lot of. Who, Rafe, was your favorite non-AEW talent that was showcased on the Ring of Honor Death Before Dishonor pay-per-view?
It was Dalton Castle and the boys. just because of the pure entertainment value of that match. Tammy. Yep,
Okay.
look, she's got the peacock.
I agree with Rafe. Mark it on the calendar. I'm 100% in agreement. I
Yeah, you
thought he had
better.
so much
Really?
pizzazz. He had so much pizzazz, so much fun. The boys were fun, and he's a good wrestler. And he had the whole it was completely entertaining. I mean, I couldn't watch every match like that, but he
Right.
definitely add the flavor and the fun to like a entertaining pay-per-view. So as far as non-AEW talent, I enjoyed the hell out of Dalton and the boys.
And he's now the 6-man tag team Ring of Honor champions, which is quite a belt to have. I mean, are they just pulling this shit out of their ass? I mean, where did it come up with these belts?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, the 6-man tag belts, it's kind of the same thing as a trios title that
I
AEW
guess
is
so.
talking about now.
Is it
right.
the same?
Which
I mean-
means down the road, if we do a Forbidden Door type of show with Ring of Honor versus AEW, we can do the trios titles versus the 6-man titles. I think it's pretty wise to keep those around, considering that we are looking at introducing trios titles in the future.
Yeah, good point. Good point. So,
So
go ahead. What's
speaking
yours?
of
What's your non-AEW
speaking of all
talent?
that, I'm gonna say the Righteous.
Oh, yeah, they were
Oh,
good.
Rob Zombie.
I've always liked them. I think the Righteous is great. I think they have a really cool concept, and I'm going to give this to you guys now as something that you're probably going to want to see: the Righteous versus the House of Black.
Oh,
Ooh,
that would
yes,
actually be pretty cool.
that
That would be
awesome.
great.
Does
It'd be amazing.
I
Three
really
weirdos
like.
in all white, 3 weirdos in all black.
Yep.
Darkness versus dark lightness. Let's do it.
Yes, that's a great
Oh,
idea.
man.
No, they would have been my second favorite from the non-AEW.
Yeah.
Their whole match was a lot of fun, and they contributed to that. So I could see why you picked them.
And I had no idea Rob Zombie wrestled, but that's pretty cool.
Shout out to Allison Kay too, by the way. I know she's done a couple of things with AEW, I think, on the dark shows, but Allison Kay wrestled against Willow at the pay-per-view. Allison Kay is a hell of a performer, does some great stuff. Credit where credit's due. You know what I mean?
How come I didn't see that?
Because we didn't watch the pre-show.
Oh, okay.
And Tammy's
It was on the
bobbing
pre-show.
in and out of the screen once again.
Oh.
It was the quote-unquote main event of the pre-show, and it very good fan response. Willow was super over in the building. It did very well. I think it was a great match. Go back and watch it. It's the last match of the pre-show, and it's totally worth, the, I think, 7.5 minutes or whatever it was of your time.
All right, we'll check it out for sure.
And
100%.
shout out to Willow too. She's
awesome, man. I
fucking
love awesome.
awesome. We've
She's
talked about her
superstar
plenty of times
delight.
before. She's fantastic.
I do. I love Willow. I think she's great, man.
I want to go hang out with Willow. You'd like be my BFF. I love her energy. She's so fun.
She is. She's a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to see her wrestle some more, getting involved
And
with some
she had
AEW
that-
shit.
She had that entertaining match, the tag match with Athena
yeah.
last week on Rampage. That was good too.
That was really cool too.
fantastic.
Yeah. So Tammy, what was your favorite match?
God, there's a couple I really liked. I thought I was gonna pick Deeb and Martinez. I really like Dalton and the Righteous, but I have to just give it to the final main event. I'm sorry. FTR was so fucking endearing and amazing, and there was a lot of exciting moments. And they just have so much heart since I've got to know them that how could that not be the best one? So yes, that's my choice.
I agree. I think that the Briscoes and FTR was a good one. I think it might have been 10 minutes too long, but that's just my opinion because I thought that they had gotten it done way before that. I think it just went touch too long, but as far as being an epic battle between tag teams, it was almost as epic as the Bucks and the Lucha Brothers. You know what I mean? It was pretty close to that. And so I thought that was a pretty awesome match, and I really enjoyed the shit out of it. And it was cool to see the Briscoes, man. They're hilarious. They crack me up. And I like what we said. They communicate with each other with grunts and groans. And I thought that was fun as shit. And so he was going and then
Yep.
throwing people in the corner, man. So I thought that was super entertaining to me. Close second is going to go. I'm definitely give it the Righteous versus Dalton Castle. So Chris, what was your favorite match of that night?
I don't think it's any secret that the FTR Briscoes match was the star of this pay-per-view. I will say this, between that match and their previous match at the last Ring of Honor show, I enjoyed the first one a little bit more. And I will say it's probably because it was the first time ever seeing those two teams go against each other. And it just felt more, it felt like more of a big deal to me to see the Briscoes versus FTR for the first time ever, et cetera, et cetera. However, this match, if the goal was to be as dramatic and as drawn out and as epic as possible, they achieved that. I do think you're right. I think it could have been a little shorter. I think we were playing for time a little bit, maybe. I think Tony probably said, "Hey, you guys can have as much time as you want." And maybe they bit off a little bit more than they should have. But I wasn't bored for any part of it. Like I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. But at some point I did feel like, okay, when and we didn't get a lot of the falls until later in this match. It took a long time to get the first fall. And once we had the first one, it was like, okay, there's one. And then, okay, there's two. And then the third one, I think, was probably a little bit longer than it should have been. But there was a lot of great false finishes. It was super exciting. I am shocked at the outcome of this match. I thought for sure the Briscoes were going to take these titles and be the Ring of Honor tag title holders moving into whatever Ring of Honor's next phase is, just because I think FTR has a lot on their plate right now. They work all the time as it is. They go to all these different promotions, do all these crazy shows. They're doing stuff in AAA, AEW, now Ring of Honor, and everywhere else in between. They work a lot, and I don't know how that's possible. I really don't know how it's possible to wrestle all the time and still function as a human being. But I've said this a lot tonight. Credit where credit's due. FTR is maybe the only team that can do that right now. So I love this match so much. If I had to pick a runner-up, it would probably be the Claudio Gresham match. However, I feel like that's kind of tainted now with all this stuff going on. I'm glad that Claudio's the champ right now. I think he deserves it. But it is what it is.
Right. And you know what surprised me that I thought for sure that this was going to be my favorite match and it wasn't, was the Samoa Joe and Jay Lethal match. I thought it was good, but I wasn't like, wow, that was a great match. So,
yeah, I don't think they got the blow off that people really expected from this. Yeah. I think the program went on a little too long, and I think that they built this to be a thing where there was going to be Sanjay Dutt involved and Satnam Singh involved, and Satnam got tossed out pretty early on. I don't think it was a very climactic finish. I think Jay Lethal's got a lot going on outside of this right now with the Ric Flair thing and all that stuff. I don't know how much you guys know about that. Ric Flair's last match, that whole show.
No clue what you're talking about.
Yeah, I definitely wanted more from that for sure.
Yeah, I did too. I was very surprised because that was the one I've seen the most build up for out of all the matches.
They built the hell out of this thing, and they took up a lot of programming time for this. Match.
I mean, there was a promo almost every night on AEW, even on Dark and Dark Elevation. There was promos on it.
It was on the Darks. It was on the Dynamites. It was on the Rampages. It's been all over for a couple of months now, and it fell a little flat.
I thought it fell a little flat, and that's too bad. And you know what? They got to have they need more women's matches on here. I mean, it's not
absolutely.
They're not balancing this stuff out well enough. There could have been other stuff on there that would have been really good for the ladies in there.
So. Which I hope is not a sign of, what's happening with the women's division in AEW right now. I hope that Tony Khan is able to say, okay, we've got to start showcasing more women's wrestling across all these brands. because there's just not enough emphasis. And I feel like a lot of these talented women are not going to get their due. And let's face it, wrestling careers don't last decades. They
Right.
last maybe a decade of prime performance, and it's done.
It is. It's done.
Yeah,
It is.
we'll see
It's-
what happens. I have to agree with that. There's not enough of the women's content right now on either brand.
Right, on either brand, and it's too bad because there's super talented ladies out there, man, that are killing it. You know, I mean, just watching Enjoy and watching some Impact, those ladies kill it. I mean, they had a
Yeah.
ladder match on Impact with the ladies, a ladder match. I've never seen a ladies ladder match. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah.
let's start getting some of that in there. You know, that stuff's
and
cool.
the weird thing about that is right now, because there's so much unknown about Ring of Honor, we don't even know what the roster actually is right now. Like, we
Sure.
don't know how many women are signed to Ring of Honor at the moment. It feels like a lot of the AEW talent is filling those spots for now.
Mhm.
And I feel like there's a lot of underutilized women's talent in AEW. They could very easily push over there if they can figure out how to make that work.
Sure. So, what did you think, Tammy? Anything else?
Think about what exactly are you asking? Just
Anything
general?
about the whole pay-per-view? Well, to sum it up.
Well,
and go
I
through
have
anything?
something I think people, if they've ever listened to us before, might find surprising.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, very surprising.
Uh-oh.
So we all know my disdain for Garcia.
Uh-oh.
But
We do.
so but
I'm a
so
sports entertainer.
yeah, so then Garcia and Wheeler had that match. And Wheeler, I think, is a good wrestler, but leaves a lot to be desired as far as the theatrical skills at this moment. Like, I don't see his personality shining. And so it just makes me go, whatever. But I've always liked him. Remember, he was one of the early ones that I was like, Wheeler Yuta is good. But I just want to give him one compliment before I say what I'm going to say. When he came out, he looked a little tougher this time. For being as part of the faction that you're in, you need to be a bit fucking more savage. He's not completely there. I know people love when he had the blood on his face and there was lots of art made about it and this and that. But we all know, like, he could go a little harder. So he came out looking a little harder, and I want to give him credit for that. But for some reason, when Garcia did his promo, he was just a little bit better. And I bought
What?
his heelishness. So I know this is shocking.
What?
Yes. And I was like, you know what? I would love to see Garcia beat Wheeler this time, which I'd love to see him get his ass kicked.
Can you believe it, people?
Yes. And because I had a whole dramatic scene in my mind where Garcia beats Yuta, and then Yuta gets kicked out of the Blackpool Combat Club, and Garcia joins, and Yuta has to do something else, which I imagine would be my dream partnership, would be Dante.
That would be cool.
So I almost wished it was going to happen, even though I normally love to hate on Garcia because that is his role there. That's why he exists. But I have to say, for a moment, I was rooting for Garcia. Mark that date down.
We better mark it down because she said, "Oh, Garcia's wrestling, snack break," and gets up and leaves. That's how that started, people.
I say that with more the boring people.
Right. Well, you hated him.
But hating someone is not the same as boring. Boring is more of a crime.
And I'm like, he's doing his job. He's getting his job done. If Tammy hates him.
I feel like I could give him a better beating than anybody that's wrestled him.
All right.
Saying. Nobody's
Let's
gone
take a
hard
time
enough
out for a
that
second.
smart ass.
All right.
I'm done. Chris,
Do you need me to pause? Is that your time?
Yeah,
out?
let's time out for a second.
The Blackpool Combat Club, huh?
So I think, Tammy, you're onto something with the Wheeler Yuta getting kicked out thing. I think for the last month or two, maybe, we've seen some signs that maybe Wheeler isn't quite the right fit for this group. I think Claudio has already established himself as somebody who is a much better fit for this particular relationship with Moxley and with Bryan Danielson. Wheeler Yuta, I think, has bigger things on his horizon when we're talking about three other guys that have already had established careers. Wheeler Yuta is still a new guy. I think he's probably gotten what he needed from this. I think there's a broader spectrum of things that can happen outside of this now for him. More importantly, I think that Wheeler Yuta and Claudio coming out at the end, sort of with the face-off with FTR from a distance, fair enough. I think that's what they're setting up. I think it's going to be an FTR versus Wheeler Yuta and Claudio as a team, rather than a Bryan Danielson with Jon Moxley, which is the team in Blackpool Combat Club. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Bryan Danielson is coming back from injury soon. I think this is the time
This
to do
week.
something. I think this is the time to do something storyline wise with the club, and maybe change things up a little bit, shake it up, get some new interesting stuff happening. I wouldn't be surprised if Wheeler Yuta being knocked down the rankings is not on the agenda.
That's good point. Yeah, we got some things coming up. I'll tell you what's coming up on All Elite, and then we'll kind of wrap it up here. All right, so we got Moxley and Roosh. I think Roosh is pretty awesome, that's for sure. We got Bryan Danielson versus Daniel Garcia.
My goodness.
Oh yeah.
Again.
Thunder Rosa versus Miyu Yamashita, which that match on Dark Elevation was really good. I thought that was a good match between the two of them. That was a lot of fun. And then we got Tony Nese and Swerve, and then we got Ricky Starks and Danhausen.
So if I understand correctly, the Tony Nese versus Swerve match is actually Tony Nese and Mark Sterling versus Swerve in a handicap match now.
Oh, wow. I didn't know it was a handicap match. All right.
I believe it is. And Mark Sterling has been talking about how much he's been training again. It's going to be a lot like when we saw, well, what was it, versus Danhausen or something?
Right.
I can't wait to see the onesie. The full length onesie again. I'm excited for that. So yeah, that's going to be good stuff.
Nice. Any closing thoughts for you, Tammy?
Well, I have two things.
All right.
One, I have a final suggestion that I didn't bring up before, and then I want to talk about the contest one more time.
Sure.
The one thing that if I could have my way is, if I'm going to watch, so we just mentioned a lot of AEW matches, but we're going to start kind of branching out to a variety of different companies. We decided we'd rather follow wrestlers, not wrestling companies, wherever that may take us. So that plays into the contest, because we want to hear, what should we cover? What do you want to hear about? What would be entertaining and fun for you? Because, let's face it, in this world, we need to have fun. And so when you're listening to us, we want you to get something out of it, whether it be a nugget of information or that I'm just weird and it made you laugh. Either way is good for us. So if you do make a suggestion on our Twitter and retweet us, you will be put into a drawing for a Pro Wrestling Tee gift card at the amount of $20.
What? I'm doing that.
Our favorite.
I want that gift card myself.
I know. On. I wonder if I could cheat and do it and get it from Rafe too, and get another
free merch.
All right, and then also
a really cool shot glass from this amazing little company that you can find a lot of times at the wrestling cons, Wrestling Over Everything. They are wonderful over there. Go say hi to them. We have this cool shot glass, but they have lots of cool little things that say that. And it is such a great motto. So I like that. And so what do you got to do? You remember? You need to go make a suggestion of what you want to hear from us and retweet us. So it's two things, and then you're in the drawing. So secondly, I wanted to go back to some suggestions, which kind of plays into this. If we're going to be watching and following all these different things, but specifically we're talking about Ring of Honor and AEW, since they are connected, it is, I feel, being invested in stories and people is part of what gets us emotional and attached to this. So I would like to see For example, storylines crossing over. How could that happen? And have two independent stories that you could go check on would be, as you do a hit show is a hit show, and then it has spin-offs, or it has the prequel. So one could be happening in one company while the other is in the other. So one is the main, and then there's spin-offs, and every now and then they cross over. So when we have these big pay-per-views that cross over different companies, just like New Japan and AEW, Ring of Honor, AEW, or whatever may come in the future, that we can all kind of get behind the emotional investment of more of these big shows, that we're all equally excited. For example, the brother against brother match sounded really cool, but I had no investment. I'd seen Roosh maybe once, I think, at AEW or somewhere like that. So it would have been cooler of a match if I had really been invested in them, because I saw this happening over time. Maybe I don't know the whole story, but I know one of their story because they were kind of playing it out over here. Just an example of what I meant by that. But anyways, I would love to see more crossover happening and more storyline. And you know what? You're only limited by your imagination. So anything could be done. It could be done, but it takes several steps ahead and planning. And I think in the end, everybody would benefit because there would be more viewership overall. Yeah. And that's what I wanted to bring home about my suggestions about Ring of Honor and pay-per-views as connected with their sister, their company, AEW.
Awesome.
That's right. So reach out on Twitter at AEMT Podcast. Follow me on Twitter as well at Chris_MT Podcast. Let's get this thing going. Let's do some giveaways. Let's pull some Anthony Kiedis out and
give it away now.
You know, get you a shot glass, get you a gift card. Follow us everywhere. We're doing a lot of reformatting. Things are changing. We want everybody's opinions. So let's get out here and let your voices be heard. We may not listen to you if you're stupid, for the record. Trolls need not apply.
But if you're really, really stupid, I want to hear what you have to say.
That's
fair
funny.
enough. If you're dumb, make it funny.
All right. From all of us here at the Murder Theater Podcast, everyone have a great week, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Bye, everyone.